Northerly the leader. Old Comrade down the outside. Northerly shows the way from Old Comrade. Sister Patricia, Corporate Bruce and home run. But Northerly, Danny Miller coming away. And Northerly wins the railway from Old...
Here's Lucky Gray coming down the outside now. Godspoken's got up on the fence. Mr. Moet though hits the front. A boil over. Mr. Moet first up. He's won the railway from Lucky Gray. Not sure about third. Playing God has spoken. Rosie Rocket. What a win it's been by Mr. Moet. Won't the corks be a popular? I don't care. I love her eyes and her wild, wild hair. Terrific down the outside. Platinum Rocker and fire up Fifi stride for stride. Platinum Rocker fire up Fifi. Lucky Gray on the outside. Swamp them, gather them up. It's another one for Lucky Gray. Lucky Gray's got home to win his second railway stakes from either Platinum Rocker. Scales of Justice and the Durban Demon has kicked him away. Scales of Justice led 3 lengths to Good Project. Perfect Reflection, but Dougie White's going to win it on Scales of Justice. It's a mighty West Platoon. He's coming down the outside and so's Regal Power. Regal Power levels up, grabs the lead. It's Regal Power. Regal Power on the outside. The Wizard has done it again in the railway. Here comes Inspirational Girl. She's starting to thread her way through the field. Inspirational Girl, Pike under hands and heels, ranges up, grabs the lead. It's a winning hat trick for the Wizard and goes. Pike's hardly flinched, 150 left to go, and the hot pot storms up, grab the lead. This is all over, it's all over bar the shouting. The Empire reigns supreme. Western Empire won it by...
And now on PG Podcast Network, it's time for the year-round Carnival with Vince Accardi and your host, Racetrack Ralphy.
We're in the Wild West Week 2 of the Pinnacles, Winterbottom Stakes Day. Cracking little meeting. Hopefully some nice things going around. Certainly looks to be doing the prep. Now I get to talk with Vince Accardi from Daily Sexuals. Good morning, mate.
Yeah, good morning, Ralphie. Here we are. Looking forward to this meeting. Looks nice, especially a couple of races. Very good.
Absolutely. Now, last week, there was headwind, tailwind in place, which meant you didn't want to lead and you certainly didn't want to get too far back. It was a real sweet spot situation. Second, third line was premium up and in. Tomorrow, though, doesn't look like there's going to be the same wind impact, but the rail now out 8 metres. I don't think you want to be conceding much ground, do you?
No, isn't that crazy? But it is a wide straight. That home straight's very, very wide, and I've seen them come out in 18 and 20, but I agree, Ralphie, particularly with the normal size fields up near that lead, 3-4 off the fence, going to be very hard and maybe dominant too.
Well, we start with the main race, the Winterbottom Stakes, and it's only a field of 9, which makes it, well, does it make it tricky or does it make it an opportunity? I'm hoping it's the latter. How's the speed in this race, do you think?
Well, Overpass can go as fast as it wants. It could go benchmark, could go +5. It's going to get down to what's Oscar's Fortune want to do. How much pressure does it want to apply to determine that speed? Realistically, benchmark +3 looks obvious to me in the sense that if they go too fast on Oscar's, Ralphie, they'll probably overcook it. And Chris Parnham's, he's obviously, like all the riders, they want to win the race. So I don't see him like overdoing it, especially because it's 1,200, not like 1,100, 1,000 metres. So benchmark +3, Ralphie, I doubt it's going to be any faster than that.
And that is, and there has to be the starting point, that is Overpass's cruise zone, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, by a mile. I can't even believe. Yeah, that's right, Ralphie. It is 100%.
Good to hear. Well, that's what I wanted to hear. Because at the moment, so he's well, I suppose he's getting to veteran stage by accuracy, but every time he comes over here, he wins bar the clocker, where of course Joker's Grin beat him. But maybe I should underline as well that in that clocker, from an expectations point of view, he was $2.10. Joker's Grin was $21. Okay, the market got him wrong, but that just shows you what the expectation was. You're not going to do it absolutely every time. They're not motorbikes, to use the cliche, but he was excellent in the Everest, and he had that little tick-over trial. So what did he do in the Everest, and what did you see from the trial where he stablemate Amor Victorious is just a one-pace flying machine up front?
Yeah, well, as we know, Ralphy, that run against Kane, that was superb. Really, it was absolutely superb. Really, you could be confident horses going as good as ever. I mean, plus 3.6, that's high performance. You look at the early speed, went 3.4 above. Last two fractions, still both above benchmark. Yeah, he did soften that last couple of 100 metres. He was entitled to, I felt as well. A repeat of that performance, impossible to finish further back than second. And if I look at the trial on the 13th, 11th, to me, it was that golden trial about if there's any sort of flatness in your system, any cobwebs that have to be just ironed out, that's what the trial gave, because it was a no-work trial other than the last 400 metres. Didn't have to do a lot, Ralphie, and he didn't do a lot. All in readiness, I feel, for, well, when I say it's for this race, is that the only race it's here for?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they'll be looking for victory, won't they?
So I know how we're going to feel afterwards, win, lose or draw. We're going to say this horse is only beaten a length and a half by K-Egg Rising. It's sometimes a simplistic argument. It's not a bad argument to put down on the table.
Well, it's like this, Ralphie, from a business point of view and a betting perspective, he's a 90% probability of running first three. So he isn't going to miss the podium.
So you're playing.
Yeah. Well, something adverse has to go on it. So the question is this: do you feel Overpass is a better proposition than Joker's Grin, or the other way around? That's really all it is, because Overpass is a 90% probability and Joker's Grin's probably 80.
Right. And I dare say, when it comes to Joker's Grin, position and running is why it's just slightly different.
Yeah, it is. And he has tested those high performance profiles. If you go back to April of this year, when it ran 3. When he ran 3.5 above, that was probably the green light to say, well, I'm up to the level to be competitive against Overpass, obviously, right now. And then the way he returned last start, it was he just did it as easy as he wanted and produced a 2.5 above, and he's going to love the 1200. But he's got to come from behind it. Yep. And on pace, he's going to have an advantage. So he's got to be slightly less. But if two people walked into a room, you could both have a 1x4 as a minimum strategy, and both people are most likely going to collect. One might get the first and place prize, and the other one's just going to get the place. That's assuming they're going to let you on. I hope so.
Oh, I think they would have to, because there are sort of cases to be made at that sort of $9 to $15 range for four others. So for five others, sorry, and that makes up the for the multiplayers, but also enough to get you your $1.30 Vince that you're going to be looking for.
Well, this is it exactly.
So we'll just go on in sort of racebook order here for these others, just their chances. Yep. Oscar's Fortune. Is he back? Like, it's a bit of a hint that he was back last start when he ran second at Joker's Grin.
Well, his performance was fantastic. Like, he came to Melbourne. He disappointed, in my view. It cost me some money as well. But the reality is he was all over the place. And he was all over the place with distances as well. I don't know what they were trying.
No.
But now, back in WA, I think doing what appears to be the right thing, that this horse is a dead set 1,200 metre horse, possibly, 1,100 he can be competitive like 1,000, but 1,200's where he belongs. And his last start performance gave the big signal that he's exactly there. I like the way he went through the first section, 0.2 below benchmark. It was fantastic in the mid, 2.5 above. Increased his pace over the last 400, going 3.5 above, like really coming to the top. And he wasn't going over that. He wasn't overextending early. And that's a real big plus for this horse as well. So he should be able to come out and cruise 1 to 3. He may also be running 1 to 3 lengths above benchmark. It's a big possibility. He's the one that's going to confirm whether Overpass has to do more or less work. And the reality is he's going to be there all the way, Ralphie. There's no way that he's not going to be there.
So he ran a close-up third to Overpass. And Overpass's best IVR performance, which was the clocker of last year, 2024, 2.8 lengths above benchmark. Just for a bit of comparison, Joker's Grin ran 3.5 in this year's clocker. But again, we don't want to underestimate position running, particularly in a small field. Could see him really hang on. And for those taking multis, I don't think he's a bad play.
No, he's not a bad play at all. And they've got him right at the right time. He's like spot on for this race. He may not be good enough to match motors with the other two horses, but he's certainly going to have all the other advantages. And the only way they can screw it up, realistically, Ralph, if they try and be heroes and go 5-6 lengths above benchmark, then they will run him down.
Ray Magnerio, where does he fit in? He was obviously a car crash watch for those on him last start, but at the moment at 1,200, his profile is a fair way behind the likes of the three that we've mentioned.
He's interesting, isn't he, Ralphie? Because he's very good horse. He's very capable as well, got plenty of ability, but he's going to be needing some big mistakes. Overextension up front would have to be the first one. And then the challenge is, can he really finish off as strongly as Joker's Grin, who's a young horse on the way up? His form's good, though. Ray Magnerio's form's very, very good. Both runs are superb, 1 length above benchmark first up when winning. Got a bit of a regression backwards with a 0.3 above second up. I wouldn't be worrying about that. I mean, the way he closed the last 400, 6.5 above benchmark was excellent. Up to 1,200 is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. He's just going to bump into a couple of very smart horses.
No doubt. Rope the Men's well, the interesting one for me with Rope the Min is that they chose to run him here as opposed to maybe the Gold Rush. Maybe the idea is to give him this run and then he peaks in the Gold Rush in 2 weeks' time at 1,400 because, again, at 1,200 he's going to have a sharpness query, isn't he?
Well, they'd be obviously excited the way the horse has been hitting the line. Maybe what they might not be 100% aware of is that the horse has been hitting the line really hard, but that race shape's been in its favour. Like first up, 5.9 lengths below benchmark early, hit the line hard with 5.6 above. And then last start, it was a super last 400, but the pace early, Ralphie, was almost barrier trial. 10.2 lengths below benchmark is what the horse was travelling at. So, looks good. Question mark for this horse as well is, even on his best day, he's behind, and I'm just talking the main two, Joker's Grin and Overpass. He's obviously a lower probability for a third, but he could get a third maybe if he can, outflank a couple of other horses.
Fourth in
maybe
this
the
race
other
last,
date.
Yeah, fourth in this race last year from last, and 1.8 lengths behind Overpass, and was $17 versus $3.20 that day, and that was a bigger field with more pressure on it than could happen tomorrow. Benedetta, I think I know why Kieran said let's have a throw at the stubs of the Group 1. She said she put up a next time run last start, but it was on wet tracks, which she loves. The blinkers on obviously helped, and she's probably ready, but not ready for this type of race shape, is she?
Yeah, this is. The horse has got plenty of capability. We know that, Ralph. And this stable can do a lot with particularly these type of horses. I felt that the 2 runs this campaign, the first run was fair, 2.5 lengths below benchmark. The second run slightly better, 1.4 lengths below benchmark on a pretty wet track. The reality is, back on a clean, quick surface, the horse loves 1,200. Absolutely loves it, and is a genuine +2 horse when right. Could get to that, but that's going to be short, Ralphie. That's not, to be competitive, this horse is to run to its best, and then it's got to hope the others, or a couple of others in particular, make errors.
And just finally, the filly Luana Miss. Is she even though she won last start 1,200? certainly it was in the time not soft enough, not good enough to be here. And is she maybe the type of sprinter that's best as a real wind up sort of coiled spring 1100 type rather than 1200?
Lightly raced horse, Ralphy,
Yeah.
could be a big improver. At the moment, it's gonna it's gonna have to do that. But I like it when they put him in the deep end and have a crack against the best that's running around in WA, because it really sorts out where you're at. And this will be a really good test, because this is a horse that's got lots of potential, Ralphie. Came back superb. It knows how. I mean, it's only been out of the money once. It could be twice this weekend, but then again, might find that extra 2 lengths that it needs to, fight out the finish. Probably out of all the other horses, Ralphie, this is probably the sleeper.
Because it's on the up.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so it looks like in summary, we're not doing a preview podcast tomorrow, but if as long as on pace is okay tomorrow, it looks like Overpass Square the way you'll be leaning.
Oh, Ralphie, regardless, no matter how the track's playing, I definitely want to be on Overpass tomorrow. I mean, unless it parades like really bad.
Nice and simple. We'll touch on race 10. It's not a deep race, but the big last race, and particularly its last race, Pikey in action. You've got Lady Boss on top. Race shape wise, this is interesting because if the track is playing on pace from what she did last start, she might have to do a fair bit of ducking and weaving. So how do you assess her chances tomorrow?
Well, if the horse can be in that forward motion, now this is a big field, so I'm not going to be surprised if they go really deep in the lanes and make big finishes. I've seen it happen so many times at Ascot. The rail can be out 8. They can be 10 off the fence. And that track, when you're out 10, 15 in this position, it's super quick, Ralphie. But on pace, stalking lead, inside 3-4 lengths, let's say like a horse like Lady Boss and Pikey on board, it's pretty good because he's going to go right no matter what, Ralphie.
Yeah.
This is Bossy. I mean, I just don't feel that it's going to happen any other way other than that. And it's a fair horse. I'm not going to jump out of the ground and say, oh, you got a ton of ability. The reality is, it is a horse that profiles a couple of lengths below benchmark. But what do you need to win is what I keep asking myself. And I've got to remind myself as well that this is a race where if you can perform somewhere around 1.5 lengths below benchmark, you're quite capable. The way the horse returned was fantastic. 3.5 lengths below benchmark. That's as good as the horse has ever gone from a first up perspective. Now, second up, could the horse need more distance? It's possible. But this is a race where there's going to be good speed, and if you're going to keep it there for one more run at 1200, this would be the race that you'd want to do it in. Now, the question is it a good or a bad betting proposition? It's going to come down to individual appetite, Ralphie. Personally, I hope I've made my money before then.
Fair enough too. Well, that was its first start, ex-Kieran Ma, so it's got a lot of wet track form as well. So probably what we don't know is what it can really do on top of the ground, and particularly, as you say, in this class. Another horse having its first start for the new stable was Define Beautiful for Luke Fernie. Different setup, of course. It was only 17 days between runs, but gee, if she does what she did last start, she's going to take a bit of beating.
Yeah, that run last start, it makes it worthy to be on top, Ralphie.
Right. Good
firm track. Was 1.1 lengths below benchmark, meets the criteria, massive overextension in the middle. I mean, 2.5 above first section, 7 lengths above benchmark in the mid with a solid squeeze, entitled to really weaken. I just hope that wasn't the golden run for the horse, and now it's going to go negative, because it's like that now. When you look at it from a pattern recognition point of view, is there another run or is there not another run? Can you come back and repeat if you repeat what you do last start, you won't miss the podium. And I could be sitting there saying, I probably missed an opportunity. But on the flip side, I look at these patterns and say, well, you've been up for a long time, Ralphie. What's your chances of repeating?
Yeah, there was a little bit of money. Thought Winkers was on and new stable, so maybe, if it's a new stable, clean slate, but it's not often the case when there are only 3 weeks between runs, If it's a new stable, sometimes it's, off of spell or something like that, so he's going to have to weave a bit of magic, Luke Fernie, to keep the horse to repeat, but as you say, if he repeats, he's going to run a bit of a race.
Well, he's going to run top 3 for sure.
All right, nice. A couple others worth mentioning. Who have you got next as far as rolling ruler? Why is it in your numbers?
Well, number one, very lightly raced horse. He's had for 4 starts. Last start was the first time the horse been out of the money. It was a 2 length below benchmark performance. I actually felt that it was a bit of a negative staying at the 1,000. This horse should have been going up in distance like it is now, back to 1,200. And that might have been the difference between this horse being in the prep, never out of the money or not, just staying at the 1,000 last start. Now my problem is this. When you're having your first preparation and you go through history and look at patterns, how often can they keep going in their first campaign? I love the fact that it's a 1,200. And I do feel that it can absolutely smash the -2 and therefore be a big chance in a race like this if it's got another run. Now, it could and it might not.
Yeah. Just a couple of odds I just want to touch on. Thermosphere Lad comes from the same race as Lady Boss. It was caught wide last start. Look, it might get caught wide again tomorrow, but $21 for multis. That was a pretty fast race up front, and if it can somehow get in and the track is playing on pace as we're expecting, it probably can give a sight.
It could, Ralphy. It's got the capability, especially on the run 2 starts back when it ran second, -1.7. It had to do a lot of work first section, 3 lengths above benchmark. But its general pattern is to be a bit softer than that in terms of early speed. Races a lot better when it can breathe a little bit easier. But in terms of, toughening the horse up, that's a good thing. And then even last start, out again with plenty of pace, 1.4 lengths above benchmark, a little bit soft the last 2 splits. I felt that the horse probably did feel the effects of the prior run. And now the opportunity's there for this horse to test its PB.
And just one blowout, Snippy Witch. Now, that was a pretty fast race 3 weeks ago. And so he's obviously got the pace on him. The Norton bit goes on to try and get him to relax. It's his first prep as a gelding. And Geraldton last November, that was a pretty fast win, admittedly at 1,400.
Yeah, well, the horse has definitely got the ability to race really well, and it was there last start. I mean, that's probably what defeated the horse. Those first 2 split times, +4 first section, +3.9 between the 8 and the 4, before really softening over the last 400 metres. Oh, just a little question mark, Ralphie, about staying at the 12 now that speed's gone. I would have personally preferred it at 1,400 metres or longer. So I'm sort of watching it to see what happens here and where's it going next start, because maybe that's the time to consider it.
All right, we'll wind that up there. It's a bit of an open race, but the information will be, of course, updated tomorrow for the final edition of Late Race Speed Profiles. Not so much an open race in the Jungle Dawn. We'll start going in reverse order here. The market's pretty much got 3 horses: Bonjoy, Yoga Pride, and Love and War. And it's a nice little race. How are you assessing the speed in race 8?
This is a good race, Ralphie, with good pace as well. If I look at it, I feel if horses go out and run and the speed's in the ground, +2 isn't unrealistic. If they don't, then we could be -2, -3 benchmark. But I just can't help but feel that this is going to be a race with decent speed, and it's going to give a lot of horses their chances.
This horse, Bonjoy, at the top is didn't have much luck and/or opportunity in this race last year when it was third before it won 3 in a row. But that was first up that time after 273 days. This time it's fourth up, coming from stronger races. Probably hasn't had the best luck from those real low draws, but been a bit tight. It's got a bit of set the peak about her for mine. How do you assess Bonjoy?
I really think this is a really excellent betting opportunity, Ralphie, personally, the way I'm seeing it. Number one, drawn well, got a good rider on board, and ready to peak. Absolutely ready to peak. At the moment, the horse has been rock solid around that benchmark range. but the way the horse has been finishing the races off, a little bit more tempo in the race, explosive. Last campaign, there was clear-cut performances there. I love the run at Ascot in January of this year, 1.4 above. I feel the horse is ready to run somewhere near that level. And I'm just thinking, what's going to get you beaten? There's not a lot that I can see. If the horse just jumps cleanly and gets itself in a position, it's typical margin from the lead is that 3 to 5 lengths. And if there's speed, that's going to be a golden spot to be in, Ralphy. So I love this horse for this race. And even though it hasn't won a race for a little while, the reality is I marked the horse 80% probability first 3 tomorrow.
Well, that says you'll be involved. Before I get to the other favourite, we'll match up Love and War, because Love and War slightly beat at home last start. Was $10 versus Bonjoy $5.50. It probably had a better run tomorrow. It's going to have a bit of a challenge either way. You'd think for Clint Johnson Porter from wide. Yeah, they have to really roll the dice or concede.
Yeah, it's not a good thing for the horse in terms of that. What is the horse going to do? There's going to be a lot of traffic early, and if you try and find a spot in the middle, the reality is you could be caught pretty wide, and that's not something you want to do. I feel that, well, realistically, they're probably going to have to go back and then look for those lanes late and see whether that works for the horse. And I have no doubt the horse is going to storm home. Absolutely storm home, because this is when the horse is at its best. If it can breathe early, it's just going to get 3 to 4 lengths further back than ideal. Its natural scenario is, when you look at this horse, is from a margin from the leader perspective, is he typically likes to be 2-3 lengths from the leader. Now, if they try and do that, they're going to be caught. And then the horse is going to be in a lot of trouble. If there's a lot of speed, then maybe the horse could be midfield, Ralphy. Yeah. Could be midfield with cover, then dangerous.
So where does your good pride fit in? It's a bit like over here taking on Wallow J-Mac when they're deep in the market. You don't like taking on Team Williams and Pikey over there, but at the moment, particularly given that 1400's an unknown, it seems a tight price when on a matchup versus Bonjoy.
I like this horse, Ralphie, and maybe I misjudged it myself on a personal level. I expected more last start from the horse, and maybe what I misunderstood with the horse was it did run third. The 1400 could be the key. Could be the key to unlock the best out of this horse. When I look at the way it closed out last start, I was just going, I thought the horse was going to win, Ralphie, and yet it didn't. And then you go back, you look at the intel, and you say, okay, well, 7.8 lengths below benchmark early. Not a good pace for the horse, but obviously good if you can settle and relax and finish hard. I felt the mid was excellent. Like, it was an 8.4 length mid-race squeeze, second biggest in its career. And then the last 400, very strong, entitled to be strong, but also confirming to me afterwards that, yeah, maybe this horse is going to be better suited over longer. The negative for me is why I didn't want it to be part of my betting process for the weekend. It's not because the horse is not good enough. Is the pattern set up is against me. I just don't like the way it's had the 3 runs, then it's been freshened, and now we've had another 2. But it wouldn't surprise me if the best of this horse comes out at 1400.
Couple to touch on for multis. Zafira, pretty good run first up. It's an older mare, but he's a very good trainer, Simon Miller. Probably going to have a map again, another horse that probably going to have a map challenge. But given she's what is she, $26? She probably isn't a bad option to consider for multis, because there's a very good run first up, and she's definitely 1400 here is her best.
I would have been excited with that run, Simon Miller. Man, that was massive. Plus 1.2, got in the top 10 for the day. Track was quick, Ralphie, and the horse loved it, just thrived on it. minus 1.8 first section, massive in the middle, 7.1 above, 4.1 last 400. All excellent. All excellent, Ralph. You'd be sitting back here saying, love that, particularly knowing that the horse can be better at 14. Now, yeah, sorry.
Keep going.
I was going to say, is it going to work for you second up? Did the horse go too good? Right? It's a 7-year-old mare, right? There's, no matter how you look at it, even if the horses are coming out to their top, they might need a little bit more time than 21 days to overcome it. But he would have been like over the moon with that run.
And the Kalgoorlie mare, Secret Attraction, she I was taking a good look at her, and look, that Northern Mile was a pretty strong mile, wasn't it? And maybe she's a bounce opportunity, hence she's made your top 4 at the moment in your most advantage, and she's a terrific price.
Well, this is another horse that probably coming at the peak at the right time. Now, if you go back a couple of preps, this horse is rock solid benchmark, potentially a plus a half horse. The way it performed last start, I feel like 34 days up, back 200 metres, all positives. Didn't overextend early, 5.4 lengths below benchmark, solid in the mid going 1.9 above, massive last 400. When you look at the history of this horse, to get a 6.8, you'd say, okay, you're right at your top, especially when you've done it like a couple of lengths quicker than what you normally do. So this is was a big indicator for me to say you're at your top. Now,
right.
I do expect this horse to run somewhere near benchmark tomorrow. Now, is that going to work out and be enough? Don't like the barrier draw with Lucy on board. What is she going to do with that sort of draw, given that this horse's average early speed's like 5-6 lengths below benchmark? You might be too far back.
All right. First leg of the quaddie, race 7. I'm scratching my head here, Vince. How come September Born is so short? It's 1,400 back to 1,200 with its profile. Can you make a case for it, or do you think it is too short?
I was trying my best, Ralphy, last night to find a reason, can we push it up? But there was nowhere to go.
Right.
The horse hasn't broken benchmark. So I'm like this. It is lightly raced, so I can't be too hard. But the reality is, your first up run, I felt that you came to the races like very fit. Not a lot of improvement to come other than just racing knowledge for the horse to get more experience. 0.2 below benchmark, 4th best of the day, got a perfect run first section going 4.5 below. Excellent in the mid, plus 1.6. Last 400, almost as good as it can go, Ralphie, plus 4.1. Then second up, I look at that run at 1,400 metres. Look, to me, it looked like it ran flat and felt the effects of the first up run. It was slower through the first section. It was a lot slower in the middle. Didn't have the same punch over the last 400. And all I could put it down to is you did feel the effects of the first up run. So a rebound is a big possibility, but what are we going to rebound to? Was my problem. Where are we going? Are you just going to turn up and run like +1 or +2, or are you going to run somewhere near benchmark, which will mean that a number of other horses won't turn up on the day for you to get victory? So, bit of a false favourite from my point of view.
All right. Well, I couldn't work out why it was favourite, but I can work out why you've got Cessation on top. He was, was super 2 starts back, and you can make a real explanation in the data that while it just got beaten again last start, it was flat off such a big exertion.
Yeah, it's in top form, Ralphie. It's in absolute top form. And if we just use last campaign as the lever to give us the insight about can they have this horse, still running to its top 5-6 runs in, all the answers are yes. Had a slightly longer break than last preparation, which I also like, Ralphie. And they've taken their time to get to where they need to be. And the writing was on the wall, like you said, Ralphie, 2 starts back when it produced a 1.5 above. Those first 2 sections, almost +10 combined for the first 2/3 of the race. Of course you're going to, fall apart a bit, and you're going to feel the run. And I felt that's exactly what happened at the next start. But still, That was a big effort. Broke benchmark again. Completely different race shape. Probably helped the horse a little bit, going 3.7 lengths below. But that ping wasn't there late. Now, surely this is the opportunity for the horse to run to its absolute best. And if it can test the 1.5, then the horse won't miss the money. So I've sort of half marked it. I'm not like the world's best fan of the rider. So that's probably just a slight concern for me about what do I do. Other than that, the horse is ready.
Well, it's $9 range. Coming from that same race as KTY, and I'm sure you're a fan of the rider called W Pie who's on it. In that race, when Cessation was just beaten in that fast race, it was $11. KTY was $4. Probably a better setup for it tomorrow, providing the lanes are in play.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got to think positive. The lanes will be in play, and Pike is going to be looking for them. It's just a matter of what's the horse going to do early, where's it going to position itself in terms of, like, I don't know if that was like too good for the horse last start going that, with that sort of speed. But I guess when you're in a fast run race, Ralphie, what are you going to do? If you're going to run to your natural speed, you're going to be 12 off them and you're too far back. So you're just not going to make those sort of decisions. But here, there's a chance if they can just blend with good speed and be in that sort of maximum 6 lengths off the lead speed, possibly, if that happens, then, yeah, it could be the bit of the surpriser in the race, Ralphie.
And he shocked the market last start, and fair enough, because he sort of, was only just a nothing first up run over 1,000 metres. But Sky Duke beat the horse we were talking about there in Cessation, and it's probably going to get the gold run again, isn't it? Why is it $18, $19?
Yeah, maybe they just thought the last run was just a fluke.
Yeah, could be.
Well, that's all I can put it down to. But if you look at this horse carefully, last campaign, other than the last run for the campaign, never been out of the money. So it would have been anyone that likes to bet with transactions and happy to collect first three, you would have made very good money out of this horse, right? Now, I don't follow WA week in, week out, but I look back and look at that and say, wow, you're a very consistent horse. There's no chance the horse isn't going to run well here, Ralphie. Is there a possibility, some sort of flatness? Well, it meets that criteria of the 21 days and it is third up. Maybe if they run with that same blistering pace, that could work against you. But if they just run, normal sort of architecture of a race shape, benchmark +3 range, then the horse is drawn perfectly and is going to be very, very strong off that baseline run of last start. And I just said, there's no way I'm going to push you out of the top 4. You deserve to be right up there. I don't care about the price. You should be respected.
All right, a loaded motor conference in race 6, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. But Mississippi Dawn is who you've landed on top. The favourite for the race is the Crimson Pirate. What say you about Mississippi Dawn?
Yeah, well, firstly, Ralphie, we've got a race where if you can run 1.5, 2 lengths below benchmark, you're going to be competitive. I look at this setup, 1,800 metres. It could be run fast, Ralphie. There's always that chance that they run it like a fast mile, and that could make things very interesting. For Mississippi Dawn, I just felt that the horse is now like rock hard fit, ready for a pressure race. That day when it ran third in October, where it produced a 1.1 lengths below benchmark, that mid-race slowdown of 5.5 lengths, I felt probably prevented this horse from being what I would have considered a benchmark run. And then when I look at the subsequent 2 starts, even the run 2 starts back, 3.5 lengths below benchmark, no work in the middle, and then just a reasonable finish, nothing flashy, but the ground conditions. You've got to look at the ground conditions, right? I'm going, probably not a lover with given the ground, Ralphie. And then last start, way too slow, the pace. 12 lengths below benchmark early. They're still travelling 6 lengths below benchmark in the mid. What's the horse going to do? It finished off pretty solid. and I just felt peak coming. This won't be a slowly run race. I feel they're going to run with speed, and there's going to be speed in the track. Getting both those things back in the money is what I said to myself. You're going to be back in the money. And hence the reason why I wanted to put it up there and didn't want to move it off there. Now, the favourite, number 14, the Crimson Pirate. Hard to knock this horse, Ralphie. Everything looks like you may appreciate going up to 1,800 metres. The only concern I had with the horse was if you're going 1,800 first time and there's pace, that might work against you. But in terms of ability, you're right on the threshold that's needed, and that last start run of minus 1.6 at the mile is enough to give you all the ticks, even though this horse hasn't really been tested if there's pressure. So if they can get out and just run even speed, it's going to be its best chance to run a solid 1,800 metres, and then might be, I say, Ralphie, worthy of favourite. But I wasn't super keen about like that horse being favourite. I just felt that the bookmakers were being stupid.
Fair enough, too. So Summer's Legacy ties in with Mississippi Dawn. It had a big position in running advantage on Mississippi Dawn last start, and as you said, now with speed in the race, and can probably draw in closer from Barrier 4, can land 2 or 3 spots in further forward for Mississippi Dawn.
Yeah, and obviously you got Pike on board as well, which is fair enough.
Yep.
When I look at this horse as well, when it's had a crack at 1,800, because I'm forecasting good speed, Ralphie, I felt that could be a question mark for the horse, right, about what it can deliver. Now, I did go back in its history, and I did find a run at Pinjarra where they went really fast, and then the horse had a pretty savage slowdown, and it did win. Now, was it because of the savage slowdown that worked for the horse, or am I misunderstanding this horse and it's going to be okay? But I just felt a little bit of a question mark about if the race is with a lot of speed at the moment, given that your last 3 runs, there's been no pressure.
And we're ending up in your most of edge, and I'd put a question mark next to its name before your early edition when I was doing my prep, and I thought, given the requirement of what you're saying at this stage, minus 2.1 legs, and you'll be updating it tomorrow in your final edition, you should not leave Fame out of your multis at $26 if you're taking one.
No, you shouldn't, Ralphie. Absolutely not. This is a horse that the first up run was fantastic, 1,600 metres, off a soft speed early, but the way the horse hit the line so strongly over the last 2 splits is it indicated they had the horse in reasonably good shape. Now, a fast run race might expose it second up, but the reality is I feel that the horse is very good at this distance range and likes speed and could run a big race. Could. I probably personally would have liked a third up, right? But nevertheless, they got the horse rock hard fit, I reckon, already.
Yeah, well, 63 days since it was with Peter Moody, and he had a long prep there with Mood, so he won't be short of fitness. Let's go to race 5. This is a horse I do like, Hot and High. It's favourite, but it's a backable favourite. It's looked electric in its 2 runs. Watching the replays, what's it been doing on the clock?
Yeah, well, it's a lightly raced horse, isn't it, Ralphie? In that last run, hard. Look, I don't think anyone would have missed it. 1.2 lengths below benchmark early. I got to highlight that that's actually reasonable for a horse at their second race start, and then maintained it in the mid. You don't often see that explosion off that shape, Ralphie, where the horse has gone plus 7.2. You just don't see that. Usually when they go out at that good pace, they have half the amount of energy over the last 400. Sort of gives you that signal. This one could be really smart, Ralphie. And I just sit back here and say, well, you have to be the horse to beat for sure in this race. And there's no way that this horse has been tested. And it races like it's going to appreciate the 1,400 metres.
Because it relaxes.
Absolutely. And look at the way it just, even first up, you have a look at that. This is just to give you that franking about where, as a horse steps up in distance. 4.3 lengths below benchmark first section, pretty much the same speed in the middle, and then just ripped with an almost 9 lengths above benchmark last 400. So all they've been doing with this horse, I feel right now, is just exposing its last 400. Now, what's the chances of them going super fast here? Because I was looking at what could be against you. Okay, if they just go murderous tempo early, where the pace is like 5-6 lengths above benchmark, that could soften you up first time 1400. But if that doesn't happen, which I don't believe will happen, and they run orderly, this horse is going to be travelling, firstly, in terms of where it positions in runs, that 2-3 lengths off the lead, maybe 4 lengths off the lead. And if the leader's going benchmark, this horse is going to be going like -3, -4. Good luck. Good luck. Probably just a bad ride will beat it.
And I'm a fan of Lucy Fiore in these setups, a stalking sort of rider.
Me too.
That's where she had her best. That's interesting. So you've got second most advantages, Mardusa, who's actually what is it, fourth favourite, but it's pretty hard to knock that he's a Phoenix set heat that was created 2 starts back behind, of course, the rising 3-year-old star King of Light, and then he's on the quick backup. So he probably won't have the speed in the legs, but he won't be getting tired when others probably will be.
Yeah, and I felt that maybe the horse was probably flattened by that big run 2 starts back at 1400, Ralphy. You could see it there, 11 lengths below benchmark early, almost benchmark in the mid, strong last 400, which just gives you the comfort the horse hasn't gone off for the campaign. And I actually feel that it's very smart that they've come back to the 1400 metres. And this is their opportunity to win a race for the prep, because I reckon they've only got one horse to beat.
Yeah, the favourite. So where does Sherpa Express fit in? Nice return first up, but is it showing anything on the numbers that's saying it's likely to be able to beat the favourite?
It's hard to say when a horse only had 3 starts. In terms of like what could you do? But on profile, to me it sits slightly behind those other twos myself. Now, could it rise and just sharply jump out of the ground? Maybe it could do that, but I want to wait and see that happen first.
I know you won't be playing in race 4, but I'll just ask you, it's a regional championship, so a bit of everything from everywhere. It's called the Road to Ascot for a reason, and the 3 favourites, Dreamers Never Die, Wine O'Clock Somewhere in Bolter. What a name that is, Wine O'Clock Somewhere in Bolter. They all come from big margin wins at different tracks. Have you got an opinion in race 4?
Well, I guess we have to start with the favourite, right? Number 5. Yep. That's probably the right place to start. So here's the way I was looking at this race. That last start run benchmark, when you look at it, it's impossible to fault that run. 1.2 lengths below benchmark early. It's about as good as the horse generally goes for early speed. What it did in the mid +2 was fantastic. Again, its average is more like a half length below benchmark, and there it is going +2. The last 400, outstanding, +4. Like that was like such a golden run. Now, was that the peaking run? Now, they've had 41 days off, and here we are. And I'm just sitting back here saying, well, you're obviously coming here to try and win again. If you got one more run and you can repeat what you did last start, then you deserve to be the favourite.
And maybe the flip side to that is that Peter Fernie had this race as its target all the way through. Yep. It wins at Cal to qualify, and then in a what was it, $40,000 race, and tomorrow's its $100,000 grand final.
Yeah, and it's going to love speed in the ground, Ralphie.
Yeah. All right. So it's likeable if you want to play in that race.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now this is the head scratcher for me, Vince, because I reckon change jockeys. The market would say it's literally swap jockeys with the 2 favourites, Awesome Boy and Fast Harry, and Awesome Boy would be even money, and Fast Harry would be $3. Instead, they're both $2.50. Brandon Louis versus Willie Pike. How do they line up for you? The horses.
Brandon Louis. Oh, the horse. I thought you were going to say the riders.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if it was Willie Pike and Awesome Boy, it would be even money.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Fast Harry. I like the name. No, but realistically, first up, loved it. 1,300 metres, half a length above benchmark, best of the day. Impossible to fault that. But that last run when it won last start, going almost 14 lengths below benchmark early, Ralphy. Super soft speed. 5.2 lengths below benchmark still between the 8 and the 4, and then just put the big rocket in. Because this horse has got huge last 800. This is its biggest asset, but I don't feel that race shape was a plus for the horse last start, and still too good. Now, what's the chances that they're going to run 8 to 10 lengths below benchmark early here? What's really, when you think about it, what are the chances of that happening? Myself, I say low. I'd say it's more like 2 to 5 lengths below benchmark, worst case scenario. But how about if we say benchmark -3 is more realistic? This would be like heaven for this horse if that's what happens. Number one loves the 1400. I doubt there's any horse in this field that can combine the last 800 of what this horse can do. So I just sit back here with Willie Pike, that stable. And then you say, okay, if your competition's awesome, boy. I'm not saying the horse is not doesn't have ability, but I prefer this horse at 1200 as opposed to 1400 metres. Why? You have a look at that last start at 1400 metres. Gone near benchmark through the first section. Slight little slowdown between the 8 and the 4. Went -1.9. The finish, 0.7 above. Now, I thought about it and said maybe you were a little bit flat off the first up run, but what it exposed for me was you're one-dimensional when you're up in distance. Now, I know this horse has been competitive at a mile, and no question they just feel this is where the horse naturally belongs, and maybe with more racing than it's had, this could all turn out to be correct. But I just feel that's all going to work against you tomorrow. I don't see if it's going to get down to that last 400 metres, unless it's in an absolute jog. Maybe you can beat Fast Harry, maybe. But I doubt it.
All right, seems like an opportunity there. Did you watch the movie The Castle, Vince? You ever see that?
The Castle.
The Australian
I did
movie,
see.
The Castle.
Yeah, I did see that. But I would have been a young guy then,
No,
Ralphie.
long time ago. No, but there's a horse because you said you like the name. I just had to mention this. There's a horse that number 4 dug another hole. That's from The Castle.
Oh,
right. The owner has all his horses that named after the movies. So one of the great Australian movies. So there's my little sideways glance there. Let's go to race 2. Fun Charles, the equal favourite with Forever Boy and Royal Toronado. They all met each other last start, and Hobart West brings a different form. What's the assessment for race 2?
Yeah, this is a little bit. I like the field size, and I like the fact that where the speed is, they're all sort of soft horses, so they'll soften themselves up for horses to potentially sit midfield, and maybe we're going to see the first real play of the lane. So I like that part of it. Now, as far as the race goes, when I look at this horse, Hobart West, and just what it did 2 starts back at Northern, I thought that was pretty strong performance at a mile, and almost ideal for this sort of setup of 1,800 metres. Just the way it finished off those last 2 sections, Ralphie. It was almost a combined +8. And then they went to Ascot. Race shape, 6.5 lengths below benchmark. They could be travelling that speed here tomorrow. It's always tricky, the 1,800, even with the smaller fields, Ralphie. They just pull the ripcord and they run a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I thought about that and I said, well, if they go fast, it's probably not against the horse. But if they run similar to what it did last start, look at the way the horse closed out. Number one, it franked that it can relax, going 6.5 lengths below benchmark in a good spot. The move in the middle wasn't over the top, but it was near benchmark, 1.7 below. Monster last 400. Great opportunity to get to the 1,800. And like I said to myself, well, if they go fast or slow, not a negative. Probably deserves to be hard top 2. And this is why I said, you're worthy of being right up there. And I said, I'm going to keep you at the top.
Just for multis, Lavalley is $12. It had a bit of ability with James Cummings. Could it do something off its first up run?
Yeah, interesting horse, isn't it, Ralphy?
Mm.
That run at Ascot, that shape wasn't in its favour. No way. 11.8 lengths below benchmark. Massive last two split times. I just feel like for this race, you need another run. You need one more run. So that's the reason why I just parked it to the side.
That's fair enough. And in the first race, look, it's a wide open race, but I put the Calabrese and Sizzlers when it won on the first, and then last start at Gatton, it. Well, I don't know my WA territory enough, but it was in a different country town on the home turn. I think it had every chance. There's a go back to 1,000 here, and it could it be a coiled spring type setup back to 1,000?
It could be. This is a very hard race, Ralphie. You know, I'm not going to mix my words here. Like if you can get this winner, you're doing very good. What a way to start the day. I like the name. I like all those things. I agree with what you said, though, Ralphie. Back to the 1,000, right thing. Some horses, they got to have a try at all different distances. I know the horse won at 1,200, right? So I'm not saying the horse can't get 1,200. But 1,000 metres, this horse rarely puts in a bad performance. And it does have that blistering output late. The only thing is, I don't know if the drawn three is good for you, because when you lose that speed early, I have no doubt you're going to close like a rocket. Where are you going to be positioned, and what chances does this rider have of finding lanes other than traffic? And that was the beginning and the end for a horse like this, and for the race. Yes. It's a tough race.
So it's a good little meeting. I'm glad we've had this discussion, and we don't do well, obviously the final edition will come out tomorrow, but I think your strategy is what, four maximum in a meeting, 4 plays?
Yeah.
So it sounds like at the moment you're pretty locked into Overpass and for a lesser extent Bon Joy, and then you're swinging between Hot and High, Fast Harry, and Mississippi Dawn are horses that all interest you.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely keen on having an A-grade bet on Overpass, Ralphie, unless there's a poor parade. Yeah. And yeah, I know I could get beaten, but I just know from my history, when I mark them 90% probability, that's exactly what that means. 90% of the time it's going to be in the first 3. So I don't go against that, and the horse deserves like my full weight of what I consider to be an A-grade bet, just basically on the profile. I mean, Ralphie, let's just spitball some rubbish now. Imagine Kai Ying rising in this race. I know it was $1.05 in. You wouldn't get past $1. They'll actually say, listen, how about we give every horse a 20-metre head start? This is what I'm saying. Like, and okay, the Joker's grin's there, but that's okay. If people like Jokers, they go Jokers. If you like Overpass, go Overpass. I feel both of them are going to get the money anyway. I'm just hoping that Overpass wins.
So that's, and I always like backing over it in case we've got new customers, which we have, but you keep the place on side for that very reason.
Absolutely. So it's a good card, good for betting, Ralphie. There's definitely 3 good opportunities there in my view. That's the one I want to be bullish on, first and foremost, because right now I'm locked into that, Ralphie. I'll be hunting prices Saturday.
Sounds good. We really appreciate you being a customer year-round Carnival. Keep your eye out for the final edition coming out tomorrow morning.